that real hip hop.
Y'all know how we do.
You're listening to Philly's own Matthias, aka Mr. 16 Bars, that real hip hop.
We try to tell people that Philly is a special breed. They hate to see us on top, they hate to see us on, they hate to see us come up, they hate we on, they hate the moves that we make because it's made to break them. We give them knowledge on track.
He's picking on me for a reason. So I went to Cornell University and I studied ecology and systematics, and as you know, I run a magazine, right? And I would say that, so no, what I study does not relate exactly to what I do, but when you study science, for example, it's really problem solving. It's really, okay, here's the issue, what are possible solutions, and let's figure out which one will work. Well, that's also what you do in business, and that's also what you do in human relations. It's what you do in many fields in life. So usually you can learn something from anything you study and apply it to another field. You can transfer the skills. So I did a lot of that. I will also say that my mother is an art teacher, and I got all the art awards in high school, and I skipped a grade in English. So these things came easy for me, but I kind of ignored when people were telling me I was good at it because they weren't valued as much as math and science, right? Math and science is valued more, and you're a female that's good in math and science, so the guidance counselors say go into math and science. But also pay attention to what people are telling you you're good at and what comes naturally to you, because look where I ended up, right? Art and language. So I would say that tidbit. But after college, finally in my senior year at Cornell, I was able to take a graphic design course, made a portfolio that got me into a job as a graphic designer without the degree in it, in Boston, Massachusetts, for an AOL Time Warner owned magazine. Didn't pay very much, but to me I thought they're paying me to learn something that I don't have a degree in that I love. And it was a science magazine. So I used my skills and my knowledge in science to do art. That segued into marketing. At Temple University I worked in marketing for study abroad programs, and I mentioned I lived in Japan. Since then I've worked in Australia, so that was a good fit in marketing. And from there I went into marketing, into business development, into starting my own business and getting a master's in bilingual bicultural studies and Caribbean Spanish. So your life doesn't need to be a direct path, and your major that you start with doesn't need to be the one that you finish with. I knew probably by sophomore year that I wasn't going to be working in biology, and I knew by the end of my senior year I was definitely not. But I didn't change my major because it would have meant more money and more time, and there's not money where I come from, and it's like finish what you started, get through, was the whole mantra in my head from different cultures coming in. So I thought, well, when I'm ready, I'll go back to get the master's in more of the anthropology related field. So.
And now, are you living your dream job?
Well, I'm a perfectionist. I'm a recovering perfectionist, right? So there's always things I can change and improve on, but I love what I do because I get to spend time with youth. I get to help them uncover their potential and realize their full potential, so I love that. I love that I can incorporate cross-cultural travel, so I've taken my students to Honduras to build schools, I've taken my students to Colombia to build websites for youth internet cafes. All of that I can put under the umbrella of my business because it's all related. So I love the part where you're meeting with decision makers and you're connecting them with a resource that helps their students learn English or learn Spanish. So it incorporates a lot of things I love. Will it be what I do forever? I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, because I'm changing and growing always. I'm an artist at heart, so I'm always creating. So creators don't really stay in one place for long. They're constantly moving.
Sure. Moving and creating.
You know that. You all, yeah.
Correct.
So.
What about you, Mr. John Childress? The profession you're in now, is it what you studied in school?
It's not exactly what I studied in school, but a lot of it is related. So I studied economics and finance. So a lot of what I'm doing is similar to that. The biggest difference is most of the school, particularly when I graduated, and I graduated in '96, finance and business classes were made for you to go to work for someone else. So that was their focus. Go in a big corporation, or a lot of my fellow graduates, they rushed to Wall Street. They want to be Wolf of Wall Street, do that type of thing. Whereas I was always more entrepreneurial based. So there's a little bit of a change from that perspective. And you really hit the nail on the head. You have to have that flexibility. Because even in business, things change. You know, like I said, I was head of the African American Chamber here for 3 years, and everyone said, oh, when you start your own business, I want to do business with you, right? No, they wanted the hookup. So I ended up having to go to New York, you know, so you have to have that flexibility to go wherever you want to go. But then after a while, you say, you know what, I'm going to build exactly what I want. So when you talk about answering the final question, yeah, I'm exactly where I want to be now. I just took the circle route to get there. You know, I love my job. You know, my son now he's a sophomore at Montclair State. So he's taking international business. So I'm taking him overseas and into business things. So I absolutely love it. And what I love most about it is sitting down with someone and learning what their dream is and helping them realize their dream by building up their career.
You know, what's interesting about both of your stories is that, you know, you had an idea of what you wanted to do, what you wanted to be, and then life situations, life paths kind of coached you to going to a different direction.
Definitely.
How was that process for either of you?
Well, for me, the hardest thing, well, there's two things. Number one, I looked at is that whatever I did, I always had to have a plan to do it. You know, like I said, I was the only one of my brothers and sisters who dropped out of school early on. But I had a plan. It was the Domino's franchise thing. So when these curves come up that hit you, the first thing is you can't stay down. If you're knocked down on the ground on Tuesday, Wednesday morning, you got to get up and keep moving. The second thing is that level of determination that you have to do. You know, you really have to say, I'm going to be successful no matter what, and nothing is going to stop me. And that's what kept me going when these different changes come up. And then the third thing is sitting in the back of the room, my wife saying, you better bring some money home and pay these bills. So, you know, I mean, that's what it is. It really is having that drive and determination to say, no matter what, you know, I'm going to be successful because, you know, we don't tell you guys enough that there's nothing but challenges in front of you. But your success depends on how you respond to those challenges. There's no smooth glass ride in life. It's guaranteed. There's potholes, bumps, rope. You know, you've driven on Philly streets. Yeah. You know,
Front Street.
Yeah, right.
Understood.
Obstacle courses in middle school, they prepare you well for Philly.
Right.
And I would just say, keep getting to know yourself. I grew up in a small town, like I mentioned. I think my parents kind of sheltered me, and so maybe that's why I kept growing and changing more even as I got older. Some people are blessed to know themselves very well at a very young age, and I've grown into myself over time. But I would say keep assessing who you are, even every 3 years. Look at what you love about where you are right now, the people, who do you love being around, you know, what situations make you come alive, and make sure you spend most of your time in those environments with those kinds of people. If you're not happy in your job that you do right after college, or even in a part-time job, I would say stick it out and try to learn from it. You know, learn as much as you can before just copping out and saying, I don't like it. But pay attention to where you come alive on the job, what parts of it you love. You know, as a graphic designer, I didn't like being on the computer all day. My eyes started bugging out, my shoulder hurt, but I loved designing. And at the same time, working full-time, I was part-time a resident advisor at a Japanese women's college in Boston, which is how I got to move to a big city, because I didn't know anyone. So keep that in mind. If you want to go to a city where you don't know anybody, you can be a resident advisor at a private college. You can be a live-in whatever at these private schools, and they pay for your room and your board and everything. So that's what I had done. But I love being with the kids, and I realized I love mentoring. But I thought I can't do that full-time. It'll drain my energy. So I needed a mix. So I was learning about myself as I went along. And the next job had a combination of things I liked from each. So you can do that. Just kind of create your own tapestry as you go.
Sure. The next question is for Jermaine. Some say that college degrees actually open doors. Mm-hmm. So what has your college degree done for you?
Besides a lot of student loan debt. But no, it has opened many doors for me. All of the positions I've gotten after graduating have required a college degree. So for example, as soon as I graduated, I was hired by my school. I did residence life and academic support, so I was in higher ed. I actually have 3 degrees now. So I have a bachelor's in social work, my first master's is in urban studies, and my second is in business administration. And position, part of the reason why I got that position was they were so attracted to my second master's degree, because it's not a traditional business administration degree, it's in strategic design. So it involves design thinking, it's very creative, collaborative in nature, empathy is a core value, which aligns with my core values. And so being that we work with people all the time, they wanted someone to have those skills that can look at something and be user-centered and not just think about, well, we like this program or we have this great idea, but we're not asking the people that's going to be using it if they like it. So they wanted someone with those skills. If I did not have that degree, I probably would not have gotten the job. So these are things, there's certain skill sets that come with sometimes getting a college degree, but from my experience, it does definitely open doors in that way.
And Miss Felicia, what has your college degree done for you?
Yeah. So I have a slightly different experience. After I graduated, I didn't work in my field. Actually, I've never technically worked in my field. I haven't used my degree yet. So I was very cynical about the fact that I had went to college, I had spent 5 years there, and I wasn't working in my field, and I had all these student loans. Y'all know what Philly U tuition is. It's a private school. And so I literally walked out with $100,000 in student loan debt. Wow. So I was really like, and I'm not working in my field, I felt like I wasn't using it. I worked in property management after college, and my last job was, I worked at a nonprofit doing accounting, which was not related to my job, but I still got the job because of the MBA that I had. So it did come in handy, and so I was able to gain experience at that nonprofit organization for operating my own nonprofit, although I'm not technically using my fashion merchandising degree, in the typical way. Most people go into buying or working in retail or something like that. But the MBA did help open that door for me to be able to get the job. At the time I needed it for some money, but and that the experience there was helpful for me now starting my own business.
Now let's talk about the flip side, because obviously we know that college is not for everyone. There's trades, there's obviously you can become someone who works for public government. So when you find out that college is not for you, what steps can you take and do to still be a productive, contributing citizen? John, that question is for you. College is not for everyone, but I can still be a productive citizen. What steps do I take to still find my way in life?
I think for each person, whether they're in college or not, especially if they're not in college, you have to start out by making a list of two things. What are the things that you love to do, and what are the things that you're good at? So you take that list and you see where do those two overlap. Because all of us have things that we're good at that we just don't like doing it. Like I was excellent at accounting, absolutely. I don't think I ever got less than a 96 on any accounting exam. But I hated it because it didn't allow any personality into it. You followed GAAP and that was that, right? So I think the first thing is you say, what are the things that I love to do? And then second, what are the things that I'm good at and where do they intersect? And you really have to make sure that you are good at what you think you are. Because some of you, I don't know how you guys' families are, but some of you may have friends and family who tell you you're good when you're not, right? And that's a big danger. My family was the opposite. They're like the shoot you down family, right? So you have to surround yourself with people who are going to give you that honest feedback, right? And then once you have that list of things you're good at and things that you love doing, then you go find somebody like Michael, some of the folks here, and you find out if you can make money doing that. So I think you guys are going to be a lot more driven when you find a passion for something. When I first went to school, I was fooling around. I will kid you not. I was DJing parties. I was having a good time. I was like a 2.0 student because I didn't have any passion for it. And then I went in the Domino's program, and I went in like 10 in the morning till 1 o'clock in the morning every day because I loved doing it. So then when I went back to school, I actually had a passion for it because I knew it was serious business. At 4.0 my first year and about a 3.6 my second year because it was serious business and I had that passion for it. The worst thing in the world, and you guys are young, don't ever get into a career that you don't love. You can be broke doing anything, right? So be broke doing something that you love. That's the way I look at it.
Janae, let's talk about intangibles. Obviously, being successful in college, you have to study hard, but there's other intangibles that you need in college and as well as life. So let's talk about the intangibles that it takes to be successful in college and successful in life.
So that brings to mind a couple examples that Yeah, so in college, you can probably see the scars on my knees. I was a Division I gymnast, and I blew out both ACLs different times in my knees. And so I was on crutches in, 3 feet of snow in Ithaca, New York in the spring semester. 2 of the 4 years. It's a little rough. So needless to say, when you're on all kinds of drugs, your grades will go down. And I was a biology major, and I had a bad grade in biology, and I was like, what am I going to do? Because I would read something, and I couldn't remember what I just read from all the painkillers. So my dad gave me some good advice, which I will share, and it's just, if you don't ask, you don't get. So he said, you go to that professor, and you tell him what you're going through, and you just talk to him. And I was like, talk to the professor? There's like 300 people in this lecture hall. He doesn't know who I am. You think of this guy, he's like this, person that you can't touch. But so I went to his office hours, knocked on the door, and I told him what I was going through. And he said, well, what grade do you think you deserve? And I said, well, based on last semester and based on this, I think I deserve this. And he changed my grade. So that was proof. If you don't ask, you don't get. And that made me more courageous the next time something came around in life to ask. The only thing that can happen is they say no. And you started out with a no. So you're bound to get somewhere. So I would say if you don't ask, you don't get is a big one. And I would say networking, just relationship building. And that relates to like right now in my life, pulling off big events. We have a 10-year gala coming up for the magazine. We have to find space for the youth mentoring program to happen. All of these things, you just network. You just keep relationships solid. You just give what you can and ask others for what you need. And just think of you're a part in a big spider web, and we are all interconnected. And I think too often in North American culture, we think we have to do everything ourselves, and we have to be independent. And I remember it was just shock to me when I went to high school in Japan, because there's 10 minutes between each class, and the teacher moves, the students stay in the same room. And so in those 10 minutes, everyone's sharing their homework and copying answers, and I was like, what? Everyone's cheating. But then when you go to work here in North America, what do? You have to collaborate, you have to work together, it's all about teamwork, and you're not taught that in school. Whereas in Japan, you're doing it the whole time. It's teamwork, it's not cheating. Okay, as long as someone knows it, we all know it. Okay. Sure, so the sooner you learn that, I think the better off you'll be in life in general.
All right.
So I guess, networking and teamwork, and then if you don't ask, you don't get.
Jermaine, intangibles. What are your thoughts? Some intangibles that you need to be successful in college as well as in life.
The first thing that comes to mind is having your own set of core values. Like, what do you believe in? What do you stand for? Because that will guide even your decisions as you think about careers and things of that sort. So for example, for me, like I said, even in pursuing my last master's degree, I chose that program because empathy was like at the top of the list as a value for design thinking, and that's something that's really, dear to me. I love being authentic. I love challenging traditional forms of whatever, whether it be gender, everything of that sort. So I realized all this going through my college career, and I realized those are the things that help me, like I said, make wise decisions for myself more than anything. So not to think about what anybody else around me was doing, what my family thought, to do, even though they've always been super supportive basically of anything that I've done. But having that set of core values for yourself is super duper important. Having, it's tangible and not an intangible, but having that support system of friends and family that you can talk to about what you're going through is super duper important. I was the first person in my family to go to college, to go away to college, so that was major. So there was a lot of things I couldn't necessarily talk to them about because they just didn't have the experience, they didn't understand. So finding other groups of students, my peers who were in the same situation to give me that advice was essential to my success. I still messed up a lot because I just didn't know what I was doing. But if it wasn't for that support system, I probably wouldn't have made it. And then another intangible for me is just, for me personally, is my faith. That's big for me. So when all else fails, I know I can turn to a higher power to kind of help me through. And so, prayer and things of that sort, whatever you believe in, if you have that type of practice, I would say latch onto that. And again, it doesn't have to look like what everybody else's practice looks like. And I think that's one of the most important things with anything that you do, any type of support that you have, doesn't have to look like everybody else's.
Felicia, how do you set goals and achieve them? You personally, how do you, Felicia, set goals?
How do I set goals? So I kind of start from where I want to end up. So I look at the end goal, where am I trying to go, what do I want to do, what do I want to achieve? And then I set action plans. So what are the steps that I need to take in order to make this thing happen? So, I don't know, I'll give an example for my business. We're doing recruiting for mentors and mentees. So we want to have X amount of mentors and mentees.
That real hip hop.
Y'all know how we do. Chilly, tight shirts with tight jeans, they never feel me. Young boys confused, they think I'm too preachy. Old head in the game and still rep my city. I'm from Philly where hot corners they